Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sharon's Faith Corner. Today's episode, we are on episode 22. And I thank you always for inviting me and my guest into your home and into your day. And making this little podcast part of your life and your journey. That's a hope. And of course, just a reminder, nobody's making money from this. It's just people sharing their miracles, and we'd love to hear yours. So if you'd like to be part of this project, please message me, and I will happily meet you wherever you are. And if you are out of the country, we can certainly do it by computer. However, because I like to have as many of you included this project as possible. Super excited about today's guest. He's a great friend of mine, just a wonderful human being. And I'm excited to hear his miracle. So I'm going to turn this over to Pat.
Hi there, my name is Pat. Sharon asked me to talk about a miracle, and I guess I'm going to be a little self-indulgent, talk about myself, because that's easiest. Even though here at Detox, we see miracles every day. So, where to begin? My story starts with a lot of unprocessed trauma. I had some things happen in my life that I didn't really process very well, and instead I just numbed out, as we do. I didn't want to deal with things in my life, so I just kept numbing until I couldn't feel anymore. And so I would say roughly around 15 years ago or so, my life was kind of spiraling out of control. But it was still manageable to an extent. And at the time I was living in California and partying every chance I got. Again, to not feel anything. Again, to not feel the trauma that I never processed or spoke about. Fast forward a couple years, I end up moving to Utah. And that's where I picked up even worse habits. Of numbing, of course, and my life very, very quickly became unmanageable. My life spiraled very fast. I lost my apartment. I couldn't see my daughter anymore. I lost my job. I even lost my dog, of all things. And I was in and out of jail. I was on probation. I thought there was no hope for me. I had been getting out of jail, and then I would have a little bit of sober time because I had been sitting there for long enough to get my head clear. And then I would do good for a while. But then something would come back up, and then I would be back in party mode or back in numbing mode or just, whatever it takes not to feel. And again, still not processing any of that stuff in my life that I should have been. Because that's just kind of how I've always known life, is just to not really talk about anything and just let it go deep down inside until it explodes one day. But I don't think that far ahead, or at least I didn't then. And one of the last times I was sitting in jail, I hadn't seen my daughter for, I would say, maybe a good solid year, and she was still young. She was probably about 3. And I was on paper, so I was constantly, every single month, I was going back to jail for dirty UA, or not doing what was expected of me. And my PO was, he was a hard ass, for sure. But I needed that. I couldn't stand him, but in the end, I still kind of run into him here, and we're good now. We're friends. We shake hands. It's amazing. And so one of the last times I was sitting in there, I had a clear enough head that, mind you, in all of this, I was in some really toxic relationships that ended up always going bad. So the last time I'm sitting in jail, I'm in there for a couple months, and I decide that I want to change. And I got a hold of my mom, I got a hold of my PO, I got a hold of my LDA, and I said, I need to get into treatment. Can you please help me? And they all were on my side, and they did everything they possibly could. And fast forward about 40 days later, Odyssey House came and picked me up from county jail. And I think I got out Easter Sunday, I believe. 2019, I believe, or 2020, one of those two. And so they came and picked me up, and I was, one, excited to be out of jail, two, excited to maybe try a new, go down a new road of life that I'd never known, and it was treatment and recovery and trying that. And so I went to Odyssey House. I did some time there. I met a lot of great people. I learned a lot of important life skills, coping, all the things, processing, talking about the things that, were eating me up inside. And after that, I remained sober. And I ended up leaving Odyssey House because of just something that happened to me. It's just something in my head that told me to leave. And I think it was just that, like, you get to that point where you don't know if you can learn any more, but you can always learn more. But in my head, I just didn't know if I was going to go any further, just because I just haven't been so successful in that type of stuff in life. And so I ended up leaving. But I stayed sober, and I went to go check in with my PO, and because I didn't report in 2 days of 2 nights, he took me back to jail. And even though I UA'd clean and everything, and I just figured I couldn't win. I'm back here. I tried treatment, and now I'm still back at this place. I cannot get out of ADC. And I sat there again for a couple months. And somebody actually bailed me out. I couldn't believe it. I never had any money on my books. Never had commissary. Never had anything. I always had to work in the kitchen so I could eat more. Well, somebody actually bailed me out. And when they bailed me out, I said, I'm going to do this no matter what it takes. And if I come across that mindset of wanting to leave, like I did last time, I'm just not going to do it, because look where I ended up. And so I stayed sober, and I met again with my PO, and he said, you've completed enough inpatient that you can probably go to outpatient. Either way, I want you to get assessed by a company called ARS. And so I went to them. And they had told me that I completed enough inpatient treatment that I would be eligible for outpatient as long as I had a place to live. Well, I didn't really have a place to live. I was still homeless. Sober and homeless. And that's a really hard combo. I mean, being homeless in general is, you know what I mean? It's terrible. It's so hard. It's so hard on your mind and on your body and all the things. But I was going to do it no matter what it took. And so when I got assessed, they said, there's a place called First Step House. So I said, okay, well, I want to go there. You know what I mean? I don't want to go to jail again. I just want to make my PO happy. I just want to make my family happy. I want to see my kiddo again. And I want my dog back. And so I did all the things. I did a good 10 months of outpatient. I got helped with finding a place to live. And then I completed, actually it's pretty crazy, I graduated, I would say a week or two into COVID hitting. And when COVID hit, it was just mind-blowing. You know what I mean? I graduated, and then I still had to get a job. I was still on paper, and I finally got a job at a local gym. And COVID hit even harder, and I was laid off from my job. And it was the first job that I've worked in at this time. I'd say a good 3 years. And I was so happy to be making money. I was so happy to be working out and just like, working at a job where I get to do it with people. Because I like to make people smile. I like to make people laugh. And I got laid off, and again, here I am in my probation officer's office. And he he just said the same thing. If you don't find a job, I'm going to have to take you back to jail. I said, it's literally, the world is shut down right now. I was like, what do you want me to do? I can't do anything. And he said, well, you need to make something happen. And I think the very next day, I went onto a job site and I just started applying at all these treatment centers. Anyone that was hiring, I was applying from anything, you know what I mean? And I saw one place that said adult detox. And I thought, that'd be cool. That'd be right up my alley. Let me check it out. So I applied, and lo and behold, I got a phone call. And I talked to the gentleman on the phone for a good 5-10 minutes, and he asked me to come in for an interview. And again, this was still COVID, and so we were all wearing masks. Weird. I had a big old beard down to here that I had to shave because the mask thing was getting all gross and in my face, and nobody wants to eat a beard. And he asked me to come back for a second interview, and so I did. It was like a week later. It seemed like it was forever, but it was a week later. And I went back, and then he said, hey, I want to offer you a job as a recovery assistant. I said, sounds great. When do I start? He said, in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, I'll be patient and I'll wait. You know what I mean? And so then I started at Detox, and I loved it. I loved the guys. I loved my coworkers. I loved seeing how the human race, I just see just the kindness of people, and see the kindness in their eyes, and see their want to help. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I worked there for quite some time, and I've been doing pretty good for myself there. And so I got to move up a little bit, and then I got to train people on how to, admit people and client care and all that stuff. And just seeing what we do every day, or whatever anybody does every day as far as helping people, is a beauty in itself. And I come to work every day now knowing where I had been. And some days it really brightens my day. Obviously, life is life, and some days are easier than others, but working in a place like this is really my miracle. Going through what I had been through personally, and overcoming that was something that I never thought that I could do. I thought that I was always going to be struggling for the rest of my life and not getting over, or not processing things in my life the way that I should, healthy at least. And now I have my own place. I have my own car. I see my daughter, I ended up getting my dog back. I have a great job. I have a great relationship with my family. And to me, that makes me feel like the richest man alive. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I mean, if I can do it, I feel like if you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. And you just have to have a want and a need, and anything is possible. So that is my story, my miracle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. He did great, didn't he, everybody? Well, thanks again, Pat. And
thank you.
All right, guys. See you on the next episode. Have a great day.